What if that shadow you saw in the corner of your eye wasn't just a trick of the light? One user recounted a nightmarish evening that transformed their peaceful night into an ordeal of haunting terror. As they nestled into bed, the familiar creaks of their home settling echoed through the rooms. But then, something shifted. A sinister whisper curled into their ear, laden with icy dread. They shot upright, heart pounding, eyes scanning the dark room in panic. The air grew thick, almost pulsating with menace. Suddenly, their phone buzzed with a notification. A chilling message blinked on the screen. "I see you." They froze, blood turning to ice. Who could be sending this? That was just the beginning. Shadows began to writhe on the walls. Every tiny sound amplified their anxiety, and the boundary between reality and nightmare blurred. This single moment unleashed a torrent of unexplainable encounters, spiraling into a harrowing chase through the eerie corridors of their own mind. What awaited them on the other side of their fear? A truth cloaked in darkness that would leave them questioning every creak and cautious whisper in the shadows. Imagine starting your evening commute from work, only to find yourself plunged into a nightmarish scenario. Our first story comes from a Reddit user named Alex, who experienced just that on an ordinary evening. They boarded their usual subway, headphones in place, zoning out the world around them. As the train snaked into a tunnel, the lights flickered ominously, and suddenly, the carriage took on a different vibe, a darker atmosphere. Suspense tightened its grip as Alex scanned the surroundings. Fellow passengers sat unnervingly silent, their faces blank, their bodies motionless, as if caught in a trance. A wave of dread washed over Alex, a visceral sensation clawing at their gut, like invisible eyes boring into them. Trying to shake off the unease, they glanced out the window, hoping to ground themselves in reality. But what awaited them was far from comforting. A shadowy figure, which they would later dreadfully refer to as the Watcher, lurked just outside, moving in tandem with the train, its presence unmistakably menacing. Then, the climactic twist slammed into Alex's reality as the train screeched to an unexpected halt deep in the tunnel. The Watcher, now a palpable force, glided through the doorway with a terrifying fluidity, its features obscured, leaving only the chilling impression of malevolence. Paralyzed with fear, Alex could only watch as the entity moved closer. Each inch felt like an eternity, the atmosphere thickening with paralyzing tension. A cruel twist, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the carriage and returning everything to a mundane norm. But for Alex, the world now felt distorted, marred by a lingering cold dread that clung to them like a shroud. That subway ride altered everything. Alex never stepped foot on that same line again, forever haunted by an unsettling question echoing in the back of their mind. Was it all a figment of their imagination? Or had they glimpsed something truly supernatural lurking in the shadows? The routine monotony of a typical office, a Reddit user named Jamie finds themselves trapped in a nightmare. Late-night shifts were once just part of the job, a quiet escape to immerse themselves in tasks with minimal distractions. But then, things began to shift. Disturbing events crept into the late hours, injecting a sense of dread into what should have been a harmless solitude. It all started innocently enough, a whisper here, a soft rustle there. At first it was easily dismissed, mere figments of the mind working overtime. However, the peculiar noises escalated. Footsteps echoing through the empty hallways became impossible to ignore, lurking just out of sight. The sounds turned into a sinister chorus of hushed voices calling in the dead of night, shattering the tranquil silence. As if stirred by an unseen force, Jamie's personal belongings began to betray them. Items from their desk mysteriously shifted. A drawer they were sure was closed lay wide open, papers splayed about like the aftermath of a chaotic storm. It was unsettling, yes, but they shook it off, unwilling to concede to the idea of anything supernatural lurking in the shadows. That was until the fleeting shadows began to dance in the corners of their vision, teasing Jamie's sanity and testing their resolve. One fateful night, the tension reached a deafening crescendo. A blood-curdling scream pierced through the stillness, radiating from the otherwise empty break room. Heart racing, Jamie summoned every ounce of courage they had to push open the door. Darkness engulfed the room, suffocating in its thickness. As they reached for the light switch, a chilling sensation gripped their shoulder. A hand, clammy and cold, pressed down with a horrifying familiarity. That moment of uncertainty, the lights flickered back to life. Jamie's breath hitched, their eyes darting around the now-revealed empty room. Panic surged as they realized they were utterly alone. But the lingering evidence told a different story. A hand-shaped bruise marred their shoulder, a haunting reminder of the encounter. The inexplicable horror of it all warped Jamie's perception of reality. Was this merely a figment of an overworked mind, or was there something far darker at play? Wrought with confusion, Jamie turned to the depths of Reddit, sharing their spine-chilling tale of late-night horrors and seeking answers. The responses flooded in, other souls echoing tales of their own, disturbing experiences during corporate night shifts. Voices murmured of something insidious lurking behind those sterile office walls, an unwelcoming presence that thrived in the shadows, where no one was meant to tread. And in the quiet hours, when the world sleeps and the office hums with eerie silence, one can't help but wonder what truly haunts those who serve beneath the blinding fluorescent lights of corporate America. A mere figment of imagination, or a lurking terror waiting for the next late-night victim. Lisa hadn't planned on living in a haunted house. When she stumbled upon an old Victorian home, its charm was irresistible. The elegant architecture, the sweeping staircase, and the price, almost too good to be true. She convinced herself that the creaky floorboards simply added character, blissfully unaware of the darkness that lay within its walls. At first, everything felt normal, but soon the oddities began. A locked door, one she had carefully secured, swung open without warning. Footsteps echoed through the empty hall, their source a mystery. Lisa shook off the chills, chuckling nervously to herself, blaming it all on the age of the house and her wild imagination. Yet with each passing day, the occurrences intensified. Shadows flitted at the edges of her vision. Whispers brushed past her ear when the house was still. Then came the cryptic messages. Scrawled directly into the paint of her bedroom walls were phrases that made her heart race. Get out, and she's watching. At first, her mind dismissed these as nothing more than remnants of a previous tenant's madness. But that reasoning soon crumbled. The messages felt alive, pulsating with fear and sorrow. Tension clawed at her as she made the decision to explore the attic, driven by a mix of curiosity and dread. The space was cluttered with dust and darkness, but in a hidden corner, she found a collection of old photographs. Faces gazed back at her, their eyes heavy with untold stories. Among them was a woman, Margaret. The name echoed in her mind, and she felt an undeniable pull to a dusty journal that lay beside it. As Lisa cracked open the journal, the chilling narrative unfolded within its pages. Margaret had lived in this very home, but her happiness turned sinister. Her sudden disappearance, plagued by whispers of sorrow and betrayal, made the air in the attic feel thick with unease. With each word Lisa read, a sense of impending doom enveloped her. The walls seemed to pulsate, pushing her deeper into the past's tragic grip. Just as the final entry hinted at a desperate plea for help, Lisa felt it, a cold breath against her neck, a sensation that shattered her reality. Panic seized her heart, propelling her to turn around. There stood Margaret's spectral figure, ethereal and sorrowful, eyes filled with an anguish that transcended the grave. Lisa didn't think. She fled, leaving behind the haunting memories and all her belongings. Weeks later, she stumbled back onto Reddit, scrolling through various threads, when a post caught her attention. New owners of the Victorian home shared their own eerie experiences, cryptic messages awakening in the night, footsteps echoing when no one was home, the cold breath of Margaret lingering in their rooms. Lisa shivered, knowing that the past would never truly let go of its grasp on the living world. The chilling tales revived by others solidified the truth she had always feared. The old Victorian home held more than just brick and mortar. It cradled the spirit of a soul trapped in uncertainty, forever whispering, "I'm still here." Fourth Tale dives into the darkest corners of the internet, where curiosity can lead to the most unsettling horrors. A Reddit user named Ryan found himself drawn in by an obscure link one mundane evening, promising revealing secrets hidden from the ordinary web. He was bored, searching for anything thrilling, but what he discovered was far beyond his wildest nightmares. As Ryan clicked the link, the screen flickered to life, and a video began to play. The footage was shaky and grainy, suggesting someone had filmed it with a cheap camera, or perhaps from the perspective of someone peering through a cracked door. It showcased an abandoned room, eerily quiet, save for the sound of relentless white noise. The air felt thick with tension, as if the very atmosphere was holding its breath, waiting for something terrible to happen. Suddenly, the calm shattered. The screen exploded with disturbing images, faces twisted in agony, their mouths opened in silent screams. Shadowy figures lurked just beyond the edges of the frame, their forms indistinct, yet viscerally threatening. Ryan's heart raced as he instinctively reached for the mouse, desperate to escape this nightmare that had invaded his home. Yet the browser refused to respond. It was as if a malevolent force was binding him to the screen. Panic clawed at his throat, growing as the grotesque images cycled on, each more horrific than the last. The unsettling visuals culminated in a single chilling message that illuminated the screen in blood-red letters. "We see you." The words dripped with malice, reverberating in his mind, and terror paralyzed him. The noise surged to a deafening crescendo, enveloping him in dread. And then, as though a command had been given, Ryan's computer abruptly powered down, plunging his room into profound silence. He felt an icy draft sweep past him, chilling him to the bone. Confused and terrified, he spun around, half expecting to see the twisted faces from the video now standing behind him. But nothing was there, just the oppressive stillness of his room. Yet the sensation of being watched clung to him like a shadow. Days passed, yet the paranoia lingered, gnawing at the corners of his mind. Sleep eluded him as he replayed that horrific experience, his imagination running wild with the idea that the dark web had opened a door he could never close. To exorcise his fear, he decided to share his story on Reddit, hoping to warn others about the hidden terrors lurking in unseen corners of the web. "Beware," he wrote. "The dark web isn't just a playground for curiosity. It's a trap for the unwary. Sometimes it is best left alone." Yet even as he typed those words, he felt the suffocating presence of something watching him once more. A reminder that some secrets are best kept hidden. Jenna's evening jog was usually a breath of fresh air, a way to unwind after a long day. But that night, as she stepped onto the well-worn path of the local park, something felt different. The air was thick with an unsettling silence, the harmonious chirps of crickets strangely absent. An eerie mist curled around the trees, cloaking the world in a gray shroud. The familiar route that had always brought her peace now felt suffocating, as if the darkness was pressing in from all sides. With every step, her instincts screamed that she was not alone. As Jenna pushed forward, a sharp chill clawed at her back. She glanced over her shoulder and saw it, a pale figure lurking between the trees. It was known by locals simply as the Watcher, an urban legend she had dismissed as just that. But as she quickened her pace, adrenaline spiraled into panic. The Watcher mirrored her speed, keeping a hauntingly precise distance behind her, effortlessly gliding through the mist. Her heart raced as dread washed over her. Why was it following her? Why now? She veered left, then right, trying to shake off the sense of being hunted. Each time she dared a quick glance back, the figure remained just out of reach, its presence heavy and suffocating. The park, once a refuge, transformed into a labyrinth of fear. Jenna's breaths grew shallow, panic clawing at her throat. Finally, she spotted the park's exit shimmering through the mist, a beacon of escape that drove her forward. But as she burst into the open air, relief washed over her, only to be sliced in half by terror. There, standing still, was the Watcher, waiting. Its hollow eyes bored into her, voids that seemed to devour light. Jenna froze, transfixed by the ghostly apparition, her body screaming to run, but her mind locked in fear. With every ounce of strength, she tore away from that nightmarish figure, sprinting home through the fading mist, the sensation of being watched seeping into her bones. She stumbled into her house, heart pounding, adrenaline still coloring her vision. Safe, but forever changed. The next day, sunlight poured through the trees as she returned to that park, hoping to dispel the haunting memory. But everything appeared normal, the path tranquil under the golden rays. Yet an invisible weight pressed against her. No longer was it just a park. It now held dark secrets that crawled beneath its surface. She would never jog through that park again. To warn others, she shared her chilling experience on Reddit, a narrative that echoed with that familiar anxiety and fear, hoping to spare someone else the nightmarish experience that had become her reality. In our sixth tale, the horror unfolds within the supposed safety of a school campus. A Reddit user named Marco takes us into his unsettling experience, one that began the moment he moved into his new dorm room. First things seemed normal, but soon the atmosphere shifted. Items began to disappear from his desk, only to reappear later in the most bizarre places, behind the radiator, under the bed. Marco initially brushed it off as forgetfulness, yet as days turned into weeks, the strange occurrences became harder to ignore. Odd noises invaded his nights. Soft scratches, distant taps, and even eerie whispers crept through the walls, depriving him of sleep and sanity. True nightmare began when Marco discovered a series of unmarked notes tucked under his pillow. The first few were short, hastily written in a language he couldn't understand. Chilled, he attempted to decipher them, but only felt a knot of dread tightening in his stomach. With each passing night, the number of notes increased, their messages growing darker and more menacing. Fear loomed larger, tangling with his thoughts as the whispers transformed into something sinister. Then came the turning point. One night, waking from a restless sleep, Marco was abruptly gripped by a sense of foreboding. He turned, his heart racing, and froze. A shadowy figure loomed by his window, its outline vague but unmistakable. Breath caught in his throat. He watched as it slowly advanced, creeping forward, inch by agonizing inch. Just as terror seized him, he mustered the last bit of courage to flick on the light. In an instant, the figure dissolved into thin air, leaving only the memory of his cold sweat and pounding heart. Desperate for a fresh start, Marco transferred to another dorm, hoping to escape the unsettling presence. Yet his relief was short-lived. New residents shared whispering tales of the very room he had occupied. The same chilling accounts of shadows lurking and incomprehensible notes filled the air. Marco's warning echoed through the online forums. The haunting experiences of that dorm room lingered, suggesting some curses can't simply be outrun. In the end, he learned that the horrors could intertwine with the mundane, firm reminders that not every shadow should be ignored. Final story immerses us in the realm of modern fear, technological terror. Imagine this. Sarah, a Reddit user, excitedly embraces her new smart home system, believing it to be the pinnacle of convenience and comfort. At first, everything is perfect. Lights dimming to set the mood, music playing softly as she unwinds after a long day. But then, something unsettling begins to shift. One night, as shadows deepen and silence wraps around her snug living room, the system abruptly malfunctions. The lights flicker, illuminating her space in a strobe of anxiety, while eerie tunes seep through the speakers, disturbing the tranquility of the night. It is a chilling soundtrack to her growing dread. Frantically, Sarah leaps up, pacing through her darkened home, attempting to troubleshoot the bizarre behavior of what was once her faithful assistant. But with each tap of her screen, the situation spirals deeper into sinister chaos. Static blares from her phone, and her security camera feed becomes a portal to the macabre. Shadowy shapes flit past the lens, mere blurs that whisper of something unseen lurking in her space. The tension mounts, thick like fog, as the lights dance and the intoxicating hum of eerie music fills her home. Sarah's heart races when her devices begin to emit cryptic messages, their once benign functionality twisted into something menacing. One night, The atmosphere hangs heavy and oppressive as she is jolted awake by a disturbingly calm robotic voice resonating within her bedroom. It echoes, "We are not alone." Her lights flicker in a frantic rhythm, as if responding to the urgency of this uninvited presence. In a desperate bid to reclaim her home, she resolves to uninstall the system. But as she connects wires and wrestles with the device, an icy hand of dread grips her heart. The unsettling activity escalates. The hauntings morph into the tangible. Doors swing shut violently on their own. Appliances begin whirring to life without an owner. And every room is marked by unnerving cold spots that chill her to the bone. As once serene haven becomes a playground for the unseen. The fright peaks as she learns the tragic history of her new residence, a past filled with sorrow and death. A former occupant had mysteriously perished here, their presence now entwined with the very walls she thought would protect her. In a panic, she disconnects all technology, sealing a fissure between her and the malevolent force she feels has latched onto her. Yet the disturbances persist, each event more aggressive than the last, leaving her locked in an insidious grip. She turns to Reddit, sharing her spine-chilling tale, an urgent warning cloaked in fear. Beware, she cautions others, of the unforeseen dangers of smart technologies. They are not just convenient gadgets. They are potential doorways to something sinister, lurking just beyond the veil of our understanding. Their story serves as a stark reminder of our reliance on technology, a chilling exploration into the haunting effects of our digital age, where the lines blur between the comforting and the terrifying. What if, in our pursuit of ease, we invited the very nightmares we dread into our homes? Thanks for joining us for these unsettling tales from Reddit. These stories remind us just how fragile our sense of security can be when faced with the unexplainable. But what if these aren't just stories? If you have enjoyed this spine-chilling journey, dare to like, subscribe, and share your own creepy encounters in the comments. Remember, the line between reality and the supernatural is razor thin, and darkness often hides in familiar places. Stay tuned for more chilling narratives that will keep you questioning every shadow around you. Until next time, stay safe and vigilant. You never know what lurks just beyond the veil, watching and waiting. Thank you for being part of our community, and do not miss our next video, where even more eerie tales await.